for questions 8 and questions 9, you're calculating the slope of the line that goes through the 2 points. So in this number 8, you're calculating the slope of the line that passes through points 6, 8 and 4, 10. And then in question 9, you're calculating the slope of the line that goes through the points -6, -8, and 4, 10. You may do this by graphing the points in Desmos and then counting rise over run, or you may use the slope formula that's right here. So whichever way you choose, I'm going to use the slope formula for this tutorial. So I'm just going to choose which point is point 1 and point 2. I'm going to choose this one to be point 2. So since this is an x and this is a y, I'm going to call this x sub 2 and x and y sub 2. And since this is x and this is y, and I'm calling this point 1, I'm going to call this x sub 1 and y sub 1. Then all I have to do is put this into the equation. So I'm going to have my y2 minus my y1, and then my x2 or my x sub 2 minus my x sub 1. So now I look at my points and I decide what is my y sub 2. I see that it's 10. So at this position in the equation, I put a 10. And then I'm looking for my other y, my y sub 1, and I see that that is 8. And then I do the same thing for my x's. My x sub 2 is 4. And my x sub 1 is 6. So I've got my y minus my y and my x minus my other x. Then I just need to simplify this. 10 minus 8 is 2. 4 minus 6 is -2. And 2 over -2 is -1, or 2 divided by -2. All right, so I've got my first slope. My first slope is -1. Now my second set of points, I'm going to choose this point to be x2. Sorry, this is my point 2, so this is going to be my x sub 2 and my y sub 2. I'm just choosing it because I want to. I could have made this one my second point, but I chose not to. You'll get to have a sense of what you prefer based on the signs and things like that. So I have my x and my y of point 2 and my x and my y of point 1, and then I'm just going to plug it into my equation. And I like to write the fraction bar and the minuses there, especially when I have different signs, so that I don't forget or get confused about minuses and negatives and all that. So now I want my y sub 2, which is -8, and my y sub 1, which is 10. And then I want my x sub 2, which is -6. And I want my x sub 1, which is 4. And then I like to check and make sure that I did the right thing. So I just like to look at my points. Let me erase this for a second. I like to look at my points and make sure that I have my y correctly written, and that I have my minus, and then I have my other y correctly written. I do. And then I like to make sure that I started with the same point, so the -8 and the -6 are lined up, yes. And the 4 and the 10 are lined up, yes. So let's just verify. I have my x value minus my other x value. Yeah, I just like to check and make sure before I do the math. So -8 minus 10 is negative 18. And then negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. And then a negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive. So I have 18 over 10. And then I see that both of those numbers are multiples of 2. So I can divide the top, the numerator, by 2, and I can divide the denominator by 2 to give myself the final answer that the slope is 9 over 5. You don't have to put this into being a mixed number. You can just keep it as 9 over 5. So now that I know that my slope of the line going through these 2 points is 9 over 5. And you can also use Desmos. If you put these points into a table, you can use Desmos equally well. If you are going from this point, your rise is right here. Between these 2 points, your rise goes from negative 8 to 0, which is 8, and then from 0 to 10. So you have a rise of 18, and you have a run here from this x value to this x value. It goes from 6 to 0, sorry, negative 6 to 0, which is 6 steps, and then 0 to 4. So this is 10. And you can see that between these 2 points, the line is positive slope. So you're going to have positive 18 over 10, which we just said simplifies to 9 over 5. So you can use a graph to calculate the slope, or you can use the slope formula like we did before. Either way.